In the last part of this series, part 14, we dealt with the death of Abraham. The last 3 or 4 parts of this dealt with Abraham because he is the foundation of this faith. All the promises that we are waiting for were built upon the covenant that Yahweh established with Abraham. Today, Christians say that they are inheritors of the promises of Abraham. But the irony and hypocrisy is that most Christians don't know what the promises of Abraham are, and they don't understand the covenant that was made and established between Yahweh and Abraham. Yahweh made a covenant with Abraham, and it is this covenant that he made with Abraham that we are living in anticipation for Yahweh to remember. The problem is that this world does not understand this covenant, and they have made it religious and spiritual. It's very odd and double-minded as well, because they believe it's passed down with the Jews in Israel, but they still think that the covenant is about Christians. It's a whole bunch of confusion. There is a lot of double-mindedness and false doctrines that the people in Christianity are tied to. Christians believe in a spiritual Israel, which is not an actual biblical view, but one that was created by the early church fathers who created Christianity. The early church fathers hijacked this faith of the Hebrews and created their own doctrines of how they wanted to see this faith. They rejected the Yahudim and said that they were the actual true inheritors of the promises. This is literally a doctrine created by them, the early church fathers, and I have shown many quotes from this in past videos. Quotes like these: Christians from among the Gentiles are both more numerous and more true than those from among the Jews and Samaritans. Justin the Martyr. God blesses this people, i.e. Christians, and calls them Israel, and declares them to be his inheritance. So why is it that you, Jews, do not repent of the deception you practice on yourselves as if you alone were the Israel? Justin the Martyr again. According to what had been foretold in advance, the Jews had departed from God. They had lost God's favor, which had been given them in times past and had been promised them for the future. Instead, the Christians have succeeded to their place, deserving well of the Lord by faith. They come out of all nations and from the whole world. Cyprian. They say Christians have succeeded the Jews. Another one. For the true spiritual Israel and descendants of Judah, Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham, who in uncircumcision was approved of and blessed by God on account of his faith and called the father of many nations, are we who have been led to God through his crucified Christ. Justin the Martyr again. They say Christians are the true spiritual Israel. Another. All who through him have fled for refuge to the Father constitute the blessed Israel. But you, Jews, have understood none of this, and you are not prepared to understand. Rather, since you are the children of Jacob, after the fleshly seed, you expect that you will be assuredly saved. Justin the Martyr. Last one. We, who have been quarried out of from the bowls of Christ, are the true Israelite race. So it is necessary for us here to observe that there are 2 seeds of Judah and 2 races, just as there are 2 houses of Jacob. The one is begotten by blood and flesh, the other is begotten by faith in the Spirit. Justin the Martyr. This is what spiritual Israel comes from. This is what Christians believe, and this belief comes from the early church fathers. It does not come from the scriptures in which they should be applying their life to, but from doctrines of men. Christians bear the spirit of these early church fathers, which is why they believe in the spiritual Israel nonsense. Spiritual Israel is a Christian theological concept referring to the Christian church, who are believers in Jesus, both Jews and Gentiles. It says that the Christian church are the true inheritors of God's promises, distinct from or a fulfillment of natural Israel, the physical descendants of Jacob. It signifies that God's covenant people are now defined by faith in Christ, forming a new spiritual kingdom that transcends ethnic lines, with believers becoming children of promise and the Israel of God. And you see, this is the foundation of Christianity, and which is the reason why it has to be rejected, because it replaces the actual covenant that Yahweh made with his people.
Paul answers in Romans chapter 9. For the great truth of the New Testament is that the promises of the Old Testament are not for national Israel, but for spiritual Israel. And Paul says we need to make that distinction between physical bloodline, national Israel, and spiritual Israel.
It is actually quite evil. And most Christians fall under this doctrine, which is why they are not prepared for the end times, because they believe that the end times is all about them. That's what the whole pre-tribulation rapture is all about. It's because they believe Christians are going to leave this earth and let our Father deal with the Jews. That's what they believe. It's actually a form of spiritual narcissism, and it's highly wicked. Christians are spiritual narcissists. They ignore all the promises and the prophecy our Father has given about Israel all throughout the Old Testament, and the devil has also deceived them because they believe these prophecies were fulfilled in 1948. So everything that's left to happen, they believe, is all about Christians. It is a grand illusion, and it's all because they don't understand the covenant. And so in this series of Waking Up to the Truth, I am being meticulous in rebuilding this foundation for those who truly desire to understand our Father. These videos are not something that you should just jump around in. I mean, perhaps you started one as it came through your feed, and that's fine. But you should go back to part 1 and start it from the beginning and understand each topic as this series builds upon itself. And so from part 10, we have went through the story of Abraham in order that he is understood, because he is who the covenant was made through and was passed down through. And if you start from the beginning of this covenant, you will see it being passed down physically through physical descendants. It wasn't something spiritual that later changed. It went through the descendants of Abraham, but not all of them, because certain sons did not receive the covenant. It was passed down through specific sons. And so if this foundation is understood as you go through the rest of the scriptures, particularly the prophets, you'll be able to understand what is really being spoken of in the scriptures that you're reading. And you can wake up out of this false religion of Christianity. Christianity is a dangerous religion because it resembles this faith of the Hebrews, but then detours at crucial points and then creates a completely different faith than what is read in the full scriptures. The only way to truly understand this is by reading the scriptures for yourself. So what I'm trying to do is help with this by reading and illustrating the scriptures so you can see it for yourself. So we're going to continue this series by reviewing this covenant made with Abraham and understand how it was passed down. So we will continue to follow the trail that this covenant passes down through. So we will now deal with Isaac and Jacob. Let's begin. Okay, so when we left off in part 14, Abraham had died. And now Isaac is now who the covenant has been passed down to. We will start from Jasher chapter 26. And it was after the death of Abraham that Elohim blessed his son Isaac and his children. And Yahweh was with Isaac, as he had been with his father Abraham. For Isaac kept all the commandments of Yahweh as Abraham his father had commanded him. He did not turn to the right or to the left from the right path which his father had commanded him. That's Jasher chapter 26, verse 39. So again, please understand that the covenant that was made with Abraham was passed on to the physical descendant of Abraham, who was Abraham's son, Isaac. Please make sure this is solidified in your understanding. Now, Yahweh will reconfirm it though, but we will first discuss Isaac's children. Remember, he had twins, Esau and Jacob. We will continue on to Jasher chapter 27. And Esau, at that time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went in the field to hunt. And Nimrod, king of Babel, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field, and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. And Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. And on a certain day, Esau went into the field to hunt, and he found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. And all his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they were moved at a distance from him, and they went from him in different directions to hunt. And Esau concealed himself for Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him. And Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Esau started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened, and ran to Nimrod, and cut off his head. And Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were with Nimrod, and when they called out to him, Esau turned to them, and smote them to death with his sword. And all the mighty men of Nimrod, who had left him to go to the wilderness, heard the cry at a distance, and they knew the voices of the 2 men, and they ran to know the cause of it, when they found their king and the 2 men that were with them lying dead in the wilderness. And when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, and with which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land, and he ran and concealed them in his house. And Esau took those garments and ran on the city on account of Nimrod's men, and he came unto his father's house wearied and exhausted from fight. And he was ready to die through grief when he approached his brother Jacob and sat before him. That's Jasher chapter 27, verses 1 through 11. Okay, and so Esau kills Nimrod, and that goes back to the dream Nimrod had about the descendants of Abraham, which is why he wanted Abraham killed when he was born. We discussed that in part 10. Now, because of this, Esau fled, and he was very tired, and he comes to Jacob. Now, Genesis deals with this story of what happened next, but it didn't give the context of why. It doesn't give a lot of detail of what made Esau so tired and faint that made him willing to sell his birthright, which is why the book of Jasher helps fill in the gaps. And that's what we just read over. Let's continue on, though, and understand it. We will read it from the point in Genesis chapter 25. And Jacob sod pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with the same red stew, for I am weary." Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright as of this day." And Esau said, "Look, I am about to die. So what is this birthright to me?" Then Jacob said, "Swear to me as of this day." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and a stew of lentils, and then he ate and drank, arose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Genesis chapter 25, verses 29 through 34. And that's what happened. Esau sold his birthright. What's a birthright? A birthright refers to the special privileges and advantages, including inheritance and leadership, that belong to the firstborn son in a family. The firstborn son often became the leader of the family. Esau was the firstborn son. He came out before Jacob, but he despised his birthright and sold it to Jacob, making Jacob the future leader of the family. This is important to understand. Let's continue on to Genesis chapter 26. There was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. Then Yahweh appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. Dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." Genesis chapter 26, verses 1 through 5. All right, so there was a famine in the land, and Isaac believed he had to leave the land where he dwelt, which was the land of Canaan. But Yahweh comes to him and confirms the covenant that he made with Abraham. The same blessing he gave Abraham, he gave Isaac. He said he will be with him and bless him. He also said he will make his descendants multiply greatly. He also said he will give his descendants all these lands. And lastly, he said, "In Isaac's seed, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed." He said he was performing the oath which he swore to Abraham, Isaac's father. Now, please note this. In Christianity, people like to believe that Abraham did not have the law or keep the instructions of Yahweh. But Yahweh clearly explains why he established his covenant with Abraham. And the reason why the book of Jubilees and Jasher are so important is because they explain things that Genesis does not. And we see through these books how Abraham was found so right with Yahweh, because Abraham was raised under Shem and Noah. And they learned the ways of Yahweh through the instruction that was given to Enoch. Abraham hated the ways of the other nations and their idolatry. And because of this, Yahweh chose him and established his covenant with him. And so don't let anyone ever tell you that Abraham did not keep Yah's instructions, because Genesis chapter 26, verse 5 clearly says this. And people that reject the Apocrypha will make up every reason why they don't apply this example, while there are books that clearly provide clarity on what Yahweh has said and why. And so you'll speak to many Christians, and they will do everything they can to tell you that Genesis chapter 26, verse 5 doesn't mean that you have to keep the law. It's because they are lawless and they want you to be lawless. Do not follow these people. Let's keep reading. Then Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. and Yahweh blessed him. The man began to prosper and continued prospering until he became very prosperous. For he had possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great number of servants. So the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, and they had filled them with the earth. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." Then Isaac departed from there and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water, which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names which his father had called them. Also, Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of water running there. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Esek, because they quarreled with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that one also. So he called his name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called his name Rehoboth, because he said, "For now Yahweh has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." Then he went up from there to Beersheba, and Yahweh appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for my servant Abraham's sake." So he built an altar there and called on the name of Yahweh, and he pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servant dug a well. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzah, one of his friends, and Pekah, the commander of his army. And Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, since you hated me and have sent me away from you?" But they said, "We have certainly seen that Yahweh is with you." So we said, "Let there now be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, since we have not touched you, and since we have done nothing to you but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of Yahweh." So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Then they arose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another, and Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. It came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." So he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they were a grief of mind to Isaac and Rebekah. Genesis chapter 26, verses 12 through 35. All right. And so just as his father Abraham, Isaac now became great in the sight of men and became well established. So much so that Abimelech, a Philistine king, wanted to cut a covenant with Isaac, so they would not have any beef or any static. And Yahweh again reaffirms his covenant with Isaac. Now at the end of this, it speaks of Esau doing exactly what Abraham commanded them not to do. We see why Abraham loved Jacob more than Esau. Esau didn't listen, and he took wives of Canaanite women, Hittites to be more precise. Now here in Genesis, it doesn't speak about Jacob, but the contrast at this point between Jacob and Esau, it's important to highlight. Joshua chapter 28 provides more detail about this. It says, "And after this, Shalach, the son of Arpachshad, died in that year, which is the 18th year of the lives of Jacob and Esau. And all the days that Shalach lived were 433 years, and he died. At that time, Isaac sent his younger son Jacob to the house of Shem and Eber, for he learned the instructions of Yahweh. And Jacob remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years. And Esau his brother did not go, for he was not willing to go, and he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. And Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could. So did Esau all the days. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men and inveigled them. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time went as usual to hunt. And he came as far as the field of Seir, the same as Edom. And he remained in the land of Seir, hunting in the field 1 year and 4 months. And Esau there saw in the land of Seir the daughter of a man of Canaan, and her name was Judith, the daughter of Beri, son of Epher, from the families of Heth, the son of Canaan. And Esau took her for a woman, and he came unto her. 40 years old was Esau when he took her, and he brought her to Chevron, the land of his father's dwelling place. And he dwelt there. And it came to pass in those days, In the 110th year of the life of Isaac, that is, in the 50th year of the life of Jacob, in that year died Shem, the son of Noah. Shem was 600 years old at his death. And when Shem died, Jacob returned to his father to Chevron, which is in the land of Canaan. Jasher chapter 28, verses 17 through 25. Just more clarity given about the contrast between Jacob and Esau. Esau was intermingling with the women of Canaan, and that never stopped. This is the problem with Esau. He's an intermingler. And Jacob, just like his grandfather Abraham, went to the house of Shem and learned under his forefathers the way of Yahweh. But after Shem died, Jacob returned home. Now, this important point that must be given is told in the last verses of Jasher chapter 28. In the 56th year of the life of Jacob, people came from Haran, and Rebekah was told concerning her brother Laban, the son of Bethuel, for the woman of Laban was barren in those days and bore no children, and also his handmaids were born none to him. And Yahweh afterward remembered Adinah, the woman of Laban, and she conceived and bore twin daughters. And Laban called the names of his daughters, the name of the elder, Leah, and the name of the younger, Rachel. And those people came and told these things to Rebekah, and Rebekah rejoiced greatly that Yahweh had visited her brother and that he had got children. Jasher chapter 28, verses 26 through 29. You see, this is important to note because of what happens next with Jacob. Rebekah heard that her brother had twin daughters, the same as she had twins with Isaac. Well, let's continue reading so we see what happens. We will go to Genesis chapter 27. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau his older son and said to him, "My son." And he answered him, "Here I am." Then he said, "Behold now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and make me savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, and my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, "Indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, 'Bring me game and make savory food for me, that I may eat it and bless you in the presence of Yahweh before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to what I command you. Go now to the flock and bring me from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your father, that he may eat it, and that he may bless you before his death.' And Jacob said to his mother, 'Look, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him, and I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing.' But his mother said to him, 'Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me.' And he went and got them and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the choice clothes of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the savory food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went to his father and said, 'My father.' And he said, 'Here I am. Who are you, my son?' Jacob said to his father, 'I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you told me. Please arise, sit and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me.' But Isaac said to his son, 'How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?' And he said, 'Because Yahweh your Elohim brought it to me.' Isaac said to Jacob, 'Please come near, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not.' So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, 'The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau.' And he did not recognize him, but his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. Then he said, 'Are you really my son Esau?' He said, 'I am.' He said, 'Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's game, so that my soul may bless you.' So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, 'Come near now, and kiss me, my son.' And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his clothing, and blessed him and said, 'Surely the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which Yahweh has blessed. Therefore may Elohim give you of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's son bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you.' Now it happened, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also made savory food and brought it to his father, and said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that your soul may bless me." And his father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" So he said, "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, "Who? Where is the one who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed." When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceeding great and bitter cry. He said to his father, "Bless me also, O my father." But he said, "Your brother came with deceit and has taken away your blessing." And Esau said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now look, he has taken away my blessing." And he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Then Isaac answered and said to Esau, "Indeed, I have made him your master, and all his brethren I have given to him as servants. With grain and wine I have sustained him. What shall I do now for you, my son?" And Esau said to his father, "Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, "Behold, your dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass when you become restless that you shall break his yoke from your neck." So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." And the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, "Surely your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you by intending to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved also of you both in one day?" And Rebekah said to Isaac, "I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth, like these who are the daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me?" Genesis chapter 27, verses 1 to 46. And there we have it. Rebekah carried out what Abraham had asked of her to do, and she ensured that the blessing and covenant was passed down to Jacob. Jacob didn't steal the blessing. Esau forfeited his birthright, and this is what happens. If you remember from part 14, as I shared what Abraham asked Rebekah to do, she made sure that she followed what Abraham asked of her. And so the blessings of Isaac were passed down now to Jacob. Now remember that Rebekah had heard the news about her brother having those daughters. And because of what Esau did, she wanted to make sure that Jacob did not make the same mistakes, because Isaac and Rebekah were very unhappy about Esau's women. Joshua chapter 29 explains, "And when Esau saw that Jacob had fled and escaped from him, and that Jacob had cunningly obtained the blessing, then Esau grieved exceedingly, and he was also vexed at his father and his mother. And he also rose up and took his woman and went away from his father and mother to the land of Seir, and he dwelt there. And Esau saw there a woman from amongst the daughters of Heth, whose name was Basmath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And he took her for a woman in addition to his first woman. And Esau called her name Adah, saying the blessing had in that time passed from him. And Esau dwelt in the land of Seir 6 months without seeing his father and mother. And afterward Esau took his women and rose up and returned to the land of Canaan. And Esau placed his 2 women in his father's house in Chevron. And the women of Esau vexed and provoked Isaac and Rebekah with their works. For they walked not in the ways of Yahweh, but served their father's Elohim of wood and stone, as their father had taught them. And they were more wicked than their father. And they went according to the evil desires of their hearts. And they sacrificed and burnt incense to Baal. And Isaac and Rebekah became weary of them. Joshua chapter 29, verses 12 through 15. Esau married women from Canaan, and these women were sacrificing and burning incense to Baal in Isaac's house, where they dwelt. And Isaac, he wasn't having it. And so he sent Jacob to live as his father Abraham commanded them. You'll find the same thing explained in Genesis chapter 28, but Joshua just has a little more detail. It says, "And Isaac called unto Jacob and said unto him, Take not a woman from the daughters of Canaan, for thus did our father Abraham command us according to the word of Yahweh, which he had commanded him, saying, Unto your seed will I give this land, if your children guard my covenant that I have made with you. Then will I also perform to your children that which I have spoken unto you, and I will not forsake them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, to all that I should command you, and refrain from taking a woman from amongst the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Haran, to the house of Bethuel your mother's father, and take unto you a woman from there, from the daughters of Laban your mother's brother. Therefore take heed lest you should forget Yahweh Elohim and all his ways in the land to which you go, and should get connected with the people of the land and pursue vanity and forsake Yahweh Elohim. But when you come to the land, serve there Yahweh. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the way which I commanded you, and which you did learn. And may El Shaddai grant you favor in the sight of the people of the earth, that you may take there a woman according to your choice, one who is good and upright in the ways of Yahweh. Joshua chapter 29, verses 24 through 28. Jacob was sent to find Rebekah's brother and have children from his own line, and do as their father Abraham commanded, and not take women from Canaan. So Jacob left, and on his journey he encounters Yahweh. We'll read it in Genesis chapter 28. It says, Now Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. So he came to a certain place and stayed there all night, because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it as his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. Then he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set up on the earth, and its top reached to heaven. And there the angels of Elohim were ascending and descending on it. And behold, Yahweh stood above it and said, I am Yahweh, the Elohim of Abraham your father, and the Elohim of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your descendants. Also your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread abroad to the west and the east, to the north and the south. And in you and in your seed all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Surely Yahweh is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven. Then Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a pillar, and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city had been Luz previously. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, If Elohim will be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then Yahweh shall be my Elohim. And this stone which I have set as a pillar shall be Elohim's house. And of all that you give me, I surely will give a tenth to you. Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 22. And so now we see that Yahweh passed on the covenant that he made with Abraham, that was passed down to Isaac, and is now given to Jacob. Jacob received the promise that was given to Abraham and passed down to Isaac. It's the same promises. Yahweh said he will be with him and bless him, that he will make his descendants multiply greatly, that he will give his descendants all this land, and in Jacob's seed, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. So the land that Jacob was in is the land that belongs to Abraham, that has been passed down to Isaac, and then now passed down to Jacob. It belongs to them eternally. It is promised. It's promised land. And also through Jacob's seed will all the nations of the earth be blessed. Now we know that this is through Yahusha, and we will get to that, Yah willing. But the blessing that Yahusha is not a reversal of everything else that Yahweh established to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So make sure you get that right. Nothing about Yahusha and his sacrifice brings about a reversal of the covenant made with Yahweh and Abraham. But again, as I keep reiterating, with Christians, this is what spiritual Israel claims, as I showed you in those quotes. What their problem is that down the line of this biblical story, at some point they say, we're taking this blessing and everything before it doesn't matter any longer. And you see, that's what's so evil. And Christians, they don't recognize they're under this doctrine because they follow religion more than they follow the word. So they don't actually recognize the wickedness of that doctrine. But maybe you might not still fully understand, because you know about Abraham, you know about Isaac, and you know about Jacob. But you still think that after Yahusha, it's all spiritual now. Well, I do encourage you to read on in your Bible on your own in order, so you can grow in knowledge and understand the error of that understanding. But Yah willing, as we move in this series, this will be clarified. But I want it to be understood right now from this point the foundation that you must have, that the covenant Yahweh made through Abraham passed physically to Isaac and then physically to Jacob. And as long as you have that foundation, you now can understand more as you continue reading. And that's what needs to be understood. Spiritual Israel is unbiblical and it will lead you to hell. Understand the actual covenant Yahweh has made. And so we'll stop there, and in the next part, we will finally meet the children of Israel. So please, go to part 16 of this playlist and continue to grow in knowledge and in truth. Live your life in the truth and stay out of the lies, because the kingdom of Yahweh is truly at hand. Be ready for it and be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please make sure to like it and share it with others. Please share this with any of your family and your friends that say that they're trying to wake up. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I do try to upload every Friday and Tuesday. Also, please don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram to find out when these videos are posted. As always, I would like to give a special thank you to those who have donated and contributed to this ministry. Your contribution and support are a huge blessing to this ministry, and I'm very thankful for you. Thank you for your obedience to Yahweh's call on your heart. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you all.